Hi everyone, welcome to Table Talk 2 Electric Boogaloo. This time, new and improved, with Amy.
Hi.
Who has her own microphone this time. And we dragged him all the way here, Alex.
Hi, that's me.
Also has a microphone. Somewhere in the background, you may hear Oliver Moore, who is our sound engineer. He doesn't have a microphone, but he does have opinions. So just straight off the top, we're probably going to rename this show at some point. So if you've got any ideas for a new name, slap them in the comments. We are only able to record this with thanks to our patrons, people like Graham Sladden, Janina Salmio, Caleb Schneider, and Jared Ramage. I'm very sorry if I mispronounced any of your names.
That's a lot of very cool names.
Did to Google some pronunciations.
And you can't go wrong there.
You know, you respect a person by pronouncing their name right, unless you're me.
And then you let Google do the pronouncing for you.
Google
Pronouncing?
Pronouncing. So we got these questions from, well, I mean, literally everywhere. YouTube comments, Patreon, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, anywhere else. I think that's everything. Literally everywhere.
All of the social medias.
Yeah, just yeet yourself a comment into the multiverse and we will probably find it.
And we will answer your call.
If you have any comments, and you can put them below this video, obviously, but also if you've got any questions, then you can put them in the comments too. Use the hashtag PMQs. No, not PMQs. That's the joke, right? That use DMQs because Dungeon Master's questions, and I like it because it's like a play on PMQs, which is Prime Minister's question time. Just leave your comments
today.
in the comment section.
Chill out.
Yeah, if you can hear a lot of wind and stuff in the background, Britain is having a bad storm.
What's its actual name?
The stormiest storm since 2013.
The stormiest storm since 2013.
Nice.
Storm Ciara.
Ciara. Yeah.
We had a whole dialogue before we started recording where Amy thought it was called a Hurricane Keanu.
And then it turns
Canoe
out
Reeves.
that Amy can't pronounce Keanu.
But
And Canoe Reeves.
But for a really long time, me and Jazz
He's
called
a boat.
me and Jazz called him Canoe Reeves, and before that I never actually knew that his actual name was Keanu. So whenever I brought him up in conversation, I'd be like, yeah, you know, Canoe Reeves, and everyone would be like, who?
You see, the thing is now, whenever I hear you pronounce it correctly, it's weird.
I know, I feel wrong whenever I say Keanu. I'm like, that's not right.
That's not his name. He's the boatman.
He is the canoe.
Should we start with some questions?
Oh, that'd be delightful, yeah.
So JRG on Patreon asks, well, they say, it was mentioned somewhere that voice acting and dialogue could be a plan. If or when that happens, would people in your group be voice acting their own characters? Also, are the leaves on Paddy's coat real or detailed fabric ones to look like real ones?
Oh, that's two questions.
Yeah, should we start with the first one?
Yeah.
The plan is going forward that the episodes will be not narrated, basically. Like there's going to be dialogue.
Yeah, get hype over that. That's
man.
Exciting prospect. It was weird though, because when we first started making High Hopes, we planned for all of them to be narrated, kind of like that sort of storybook kind of fashion.
Yeah.
But
I don't remember when we switched over, but it happened pretty quickly, didn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't an instant thing, but
Well, it was when we were doing episode 1 and we were like, oh, hey, we need to put some lines in because I think Rosa had some lines. And then we were like, maybe Paddy should have some lines. And then the conversation.
I think it almost happened on recording day.
Yeah, based on my style of writing, right? Like how... So all of the scripts for the first season are based on... So we have a roadmap, we're a AAA video game publisher. We have a roadmap for the content that we're producing.
Absolutely.
Which is a squiggly line. So
can't do anything straight.
We absolutely ages ago, I wrote a bunch of scripts for. I basically took everybody's backstories and then I made them into coherent stories. You know, I wrote them out as stories, and then. When we came to doing this thing, we were like, oh, we'll just take those and we'll just use them. We'll just make those the thing.
Yeah, put them into episodes of the show.
we started revising Paddy's to make it work a little bit better, and then exposition through character voice, and then then we get Ronan saying, "Don't go outside. Don't go alone.
It's dangerous to go alone. Take this."
Yeah, whatever he said.
Be careful, little brother.
Yeah.
I believe.
And then Rosa has some voices, and I voice her, and I don't have very many voices, so we're moving away from the narration, and that is due in part, I think, to the way my writing style has changed. And
also because it's kind of fun to like play around.
It's just more fun, yeah.
Sort of see what we can do with different ways of telling the story, almost with the voice stuff.
The question is, are we going to be voicing our own characters? Yes.
Yeah. For the most part, the people who are actively
For
in the
better or
country.
for worse.
Attempting to, at least.
Yes.
I think.
Nagar is going to be an issue because Liam is in Wales.
Wales.
Not that Liam has a Welsh accent.
Yeah.
Or that Nagar isn't Welsh. Can you imagine if we'd made the Dragonborn word?
Oh my god.
Oh my god. A Tiamat.
Can you please? I
We
wasn't
to
ready
do
for
some
this.
pillaging for Tiamat
Oh no, please.
in the valleys.
The Welsh flag is a dragon or something, isn't
Breath
it?
of heaven. I'm so sorry, Liam. And also Wales. I was the people of Wales.
I was going to say, I don't know
sorry.
if Liam's the only one you need to apologise to with
But
that.
how many people did you set off by saying bread of heaven?
Bread of heaven. Man, if you're American,
was-
this makes absolutely no fucking sense, does it? Okay.
I was just about to say, the people who aren't from England are just going to be like, what are these people on?
So back to the question. Zada may or may not be voiced by Katie when we get to that. Nagar, we're coming up on having to really, really decide what we're going to do about Nagar's voice.
The brief snippet where he shouted "wizard" in episode 1, that was Phil again.
Yeah, Phil plays Malark.
Phil does everything. Phil plays everyone.
Well, I mean, if you have one actor on
If
the,
you have one singular actor,
gotta use them.
it's I don't know what we're going to do about Nagar right this moment.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we're in this weird position where we really want to be able to pay people for the work that they're doing for us, but we don't have any money.
The joy of being independent creators.
Yes. So you will hear a slightly more diverse range of voices in chapter 2,
God, I'm so
which
excited for
have
chapter
been very generously donated to us. And I'm not particularly happy with that. I would like to pay the people who have, done voices for us for their time.
2. Oh yeah, because we've outsourced,
We have
for
outsourced a couple. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they refuse any kind of payment. So I don't know. Just gonna have to go
Which
around
is
the
like,
houses
bless them, but also let us pay you.
yeah, put cake in their house or something.
Yeah.
Pay with love.
Get them a nice biscuit. I've gone
Biscuit.
Welsh again.
Biscuit.
And who else is that? Ava, I guess Sarah is also, slightly.
Slightly
Further
detached,
away,
but it'd be
yeah.
really nice to get. I
Mhm.
was about to say it would be really nice to get Ava in to voice Sarah. That's the wrong way around.
Ava is real. Sarah
we-
is pretend.
But otherwise, we're all going to be. Well, I mean, I say I'm going to be. I don't have any characters. I'm the dungeon master.
I mean, technically that means you have every character except
Yes.
for us.
Except I'm not going to do every single voice because I'm not Matthew Mercer.
Go on.
No. Are the leaves and Paddy's coat real or detail fabric ones to look like real ones?
That sure is a good question.
Imagine if they were real,
I
though.
wish I knew the answer. They're probably not real.
Yeah, I was going
think.
to say, because otherwise they'd go rotten and weird.
D&D is magic, so you
D&D
can
is
decide
magic.
right now.
Oh
That's
shit.
true.
They were real once.
What if they change with the season?
Well, actually, we had I remember me and Jenny. We had like a really fun discussion about sort of elven fashion a while back. I think I still have like a quick little doodle in one of my sketchbooks somewhere. But it's sort of like, I think we mentioned this on another video once, but like the different elven regions are sort of seasonal.
Yeah, so Paddy's from Tiamat.
Yeah.
And Tiamat is split into six
an amount.
kingdoms.
Yeah.
That have a high king.
Mm.
Like they have a king's boot and they pick a high king. Though at the moment it's a high queen.
Ooh, love that.
And each kingdom, there are 6 and there are only 4 seasons, so it sort of blends. But depending on where in Tiamat you live, is what seasonal fashion you like put out. So Bay Hollow is autumn.
So it's all like red leaves and
Yeah.
like that was like the one image I like always had in my mind for Bay Hollow was like red leaves, and then the rest was sort of built around that. But it's really fun imagining the different kinds of fashion that can sort of be built out of that sort of aesthetic of these different places. So like the winter places, they're a bit more layered, but they've all got sort of the foliage and the nature side of it is very heavily incorporated no matter where you're from.
Chasing wood elves are the most the closest. Well, in Arcaden, wood elves are the closest thing on the mortal plane to the Eladrin, which is the elves of the Fae.
Oh yeah.
Who are like fully in with the season. Like their skin is that color, and like their hair is,
they are committed to the aesthetic over in the Fae
because they're like 95% magic. Like humans are like 70% water or whatever. Now replace that, but with magic juice. Okay, that's the Eladrin.
Magic squash.
Sorry, magic juice has sent me. I'm so sorry. Full of my mystic goo over in the Fae. Sorry, I'm on one now.
Yeah, so Paddy's only like 25% mystic goo.
His evolution is coming.
Yeah. Gets more and more gooey by the day. But yeah, no, I think the answer to the question about sort of the leaves on his cape is probably that they're just like a fashion thing. But like very, very realistically done, I would expect, because it's part camouflage, probably, but part sort of what's the word? Not heritage, not tradition, but sort of part of the culture. I'd say. So yeah.
Yeah, and like
probably
elves have a
fabric.
really long time, right? So
Yeah.
they've had a long time to perfect the art of
Making
faking,
durable, like
fabric replica foliage. Yeah.
So I expect because dwarves are typically renowned as sort of like metalwork craftsmen
Yes.
in fantasy in general. But I think it's fun to imagine the different kind of crafts that other sort of folk are good at. And I feel like elves would be sort of the fashion people, at least in my mind.
T to the A to the A to the co. Taco.
Is it bad that it took me a second to spell that out in my mind to be like,
I was sitting there, I was like, huh?
it's me, Taco from TV. Yeah,
Okay.
actually, I think that's a good definition. That's probably why elves seem like the most fashionable.
Jacob Lopez, who's a patron, has a bunch of questions.
Ooh, thank you, Jacob.
Hello, Shrieking Wizards. Want to say I'm so happy to support brilliant storytellers and artists who helped inspire me to continue character design
Aww.
and help indulge my D&D obsession.
Hell yeah, dude.
I had questions about possible podcast recordings of live High Hopes games.
Oh,
Have
now
you
this is a
considered
topic.
this possibility to be available for patrons?
I mean, I would love to film Matt when
Oh my
he's
God.
playing D&D, because last game, Jesus Christ, killed us.
He just makes the best faces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't know he's doing it.
No. And then we'll be like, I think we were on chat the other day, and he was like, I don't know if I'm all that good at the RP, and we were all just like, have you met yourself?
Do you know who you are?
Have you, Matthew? But I don't know how much we want to say on this one, but I feel like we've chatted in the past before about maybe doing like Battle Royale one-shots or something, because obviously
Yeah.
the campaign at the point we're at around the game table at the minute is heavy spoiler territory for what we're putting out in the show. But I feel like standalone stuff where there's like no ultimate consequences, there's no plot relevance, would be so fun.
Yeah, we Battle Royale, and then the Boss Royale. I don't know if that's what you call it, but like
a
where
boss
we,
rush kind of thing.
Yeah, boss rush. There
Yeah.
you go. Which we'd have to do
Boss Royale.
a lot later, where we basically put the party at, I mean, they're not there yet, so like at level 20 or whatever, when they've reached the end, if they get there, and we make them fight every single boss they've ever fought, continuously.
That gives me a strange cocktail of like the biggest adrenaline rush and so much fear.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, considering how the last fight went, I don't think I'd last that long.
you didn't. Did you die? No, you're fine.
Not dead. But
We're good at D&D, guys.
yeah, we're good. I feel like Gwing would just win. He'd win the whole thing.
That's sort of like a character description for her.
She'd just
almost.
have to. She'd only just need to glare at the boss, and they'd be like, "All right, okay, yeah, I'll kill myself."
Very sorry. Don't mind me.
Sorry.
But we're not. I mean, one of the reasons that we're animating is because we wanted to share our campaign, but live streaming is not really something that we have.
For one thing, like equipped for.
Yeah.
Also, we all live so far apart as well.
And it's also the kind of thing where we get rowdy.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like
We don't
it's not
really-
like Critical Role where they're all like, yeah, we're professional, we're calm, we're around this thing, we know
We don't have very good
when-
manners. Like,
yeah.
and I feel like it would really annoy people. I don't have very
I
good manners.
remembered occasionally people ask like, "Do you have any like really funny nat 20s or whatever?" And like, I remember one just before we started recording, which was in your old house, and I was the bad guy,
Yeah.
and I rolled a nat 20 against you.
Oh my
Right, and
God.
after you threw the dice at me, because I was laughing. I mean, the screaming didn't stop. Do you remember which one I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah, of course
Oh,
I remember.
I
I don't think
we
I
all
can ever
remember.
forget it. I still haven't forgiven you.
Okay, so I enjoyed that thoroughly. My bad guys played a win.
In fairness, like I didn't want, Amy's character to take damage, but it was also just like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like
one of my favorite
it was so hard
moments.
not to enjoy it because
Yeah.
obviously
It's because I'm always tank, so I'm like personally offended when I'm made weak, and I'm like, excuse me.
like the rest of us in the party were all like in solidarity with you, Amy. We were like, oh no, that's quite a hefty hit, I'm so sorry, but also we were like, holy fuck, Jenny, that was sick. Like
Yeah,
it's a weird
no one is
duality.
safe.
That was so
No one
funny.
is safe.
Oh, just so good. I
I
love
was
it.
so offended.
That's the thing, like there's really good nat 20 moments like that, but then there's also like nat ones like in the Vine video where Amy, your character, tried to sit on a chair and rolled a nat one
always
and
me.
it broke.
Hashaan was like trying to like smoothly talk to the bartender. She was like, I'm going to take a seat on this chair. And Jenny was like, roll dexterity. I was like, why? And then I got nat one. You're like, fooling your ass.
It wasn't even consequential, it was just for flavor, but then it was just the fact that you did so spectacularly bad.
I was like, I just want to sit on a chair. Can I not do that?
It's nothing easy. Have you seen those?
Life is suffering.
I
It
feel like
is for me.
every now and then Hashaan like turns into one of those incomprehensibly undexterous people from like an infomercial. Like where they try and open a cupboard and 50 Tupperware boxes fall on there.
That is her life. It's just her life.
That Tupperware boxes is like Nagar.
Oh,
Her
God.
facial expression never changes because she just knows it's happening all the time.
No one questions how Nagar got in the cupboard behind all that Tupperware. Hashaan's just like, this may as well happen today, sure.
Like you're never gone. You're always here.
I love Hashaan so much. She doesn't deserve all of the nonsense that happens to her.
too. We shouldn't be laughing about this because it doesn't make Jenny feel sorry for me.
No.
It just makes it worse.
It's
Stressed,
encouragement for
depressed,
more
and trying
comedy.
her best.
I think she's slowly giving up now. She's just stressed, depressed, and just ready to give up.
So, Mr. Lopez, to answer your question, yes, we have considered having live streams and stuff for Patreons. Patrons.
Yeah, or maybe recording like a pre-recorded one shot for YouTube or something.
Yeah, we would really like to do those
Yeah.
kinds of things, but there are two major things stopping us. First of all, time, because every minute that we're not working on, like chapter 2 is a minute that we're not working on chapter 2.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is we're all kind of spread out. We're all doing...
We've got really busy schedules.
Yeah,
yeah.
we are all still working like relatively full time in order to fund,
Our lives.
our living and stuff.
Unfortunately, must
So
pay the rent.
getting people together to record those kinds of things is difficult. also we don't have a studio, so like if we were to set that up, it'd have to be in somebody's house, and you know, we live in the southeast of England. None of us have got big apartments or anything.
No.
We all live in shoeboxes.
But you know, something to look forward to in the future. I
Yes,
think that'd
definitely. I would absolutely love to. Nothing excites me more than the idea of pitting you against my favourite characters, the bad guys, or against each other.
I want us
Can
to
we do
fight
bad
each
guys?
other.
Because I can't hurt Paddy. I'd like if Hashaan had to hurt Paddy, she just wouldn't. She'd just be like, "Go on, just kill me. I can't."
See, that's the thing. I kind of
If it was Nagar,
I'm really like.
She'd be like, well, I guess I have to.
it's the rules.
Nagar's just there like, why are you doing this? You're like, I have no choice. He's like, you do have a choice.
She's like, I just don't like you.
Jacob then asks another question from me. You've mentioned in previous podcasts or Q&A vids encouraging artists to make productions they aspire to. As someone with many OCs and stories hoping to make reality, what advice or first steps would you recommend to push your passion projects? Can you give some experiences and errors you've encountered?
I think main point of sort of advice that comes to mind when it's like, how do I start making my thing? Shia LaBeouf, just do it.
Do it.
One thing that it's really like straightforward, but one thing that really motivates me to get on and do something, find a good soundtrack. Turn the headphones up really fucking loud. Sorry, swearing.
I mean, were we ever PG?
Just get your headphones up really loud, completely seclude your brain to other surroundings and just get on with it. Like, that's one thing that really helps me get on and focus.
Yeah, like to get in the zone. It's really nice having like character playlists. I'm sure like anybody who has OCs, you're probably familiar with this, but like just getting a bunch of tracks together, whether they make you think of your character or whether they seem like something that would be really cool for like a montage.
Yeah.
That kind of
One
thing.
thing I do all the time is I always just like listen to my playlists on Spotify. I just let them shuffle. I'll find a song that's really made me sort of like, oh yeah, this is a good feeling. I put it on repeat and then I just listen to it. I listened to the same song yesterday, like for a solid 4 hours.
I've been doing that all week, dude.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
the same
Jesus
song,
Christ.
repeat 4 hours while I was working, and it just kept me really focused.
Yeah. I think there's another thing to be said for like the whole just do it kind of part of just getting in and creating the stuff you want to create, which is don't get too bogged down in it. Like I remember back, this isn't a High Hope specific thing, but I used to make comics and stuff when I was younger, or like I tried to. I made like 3 chapters of one, and then I was like, I have schoolwork. It's very easy to get bogged down in thinking that you have to explain every detail of something. But like, because I remember I used to be like, oh, if I'm going to include this thing, I have to explain how it works. It's very essential that people know the mechanics of this magical engine
I still
system.
struggle with that. Like,
And also, similarly, in the details of it, you know, I would think that, oh, we need to do this at like the most professional level that we can. Like we need this equipment that's expensive, and we need this person to come here and do this, and we need to learn this skill, and it's going to take a really long time. It's going to cost a lot of money. But ultimately, if you look at chapter 0,
oh yeah,
which we did in Amy's kitchen, I would write these big lists of things to do, and then I would sort of like circle individual words that were like, oh, we're gonna have to spend a lot of money here to get this done. And then like the next day, because he's not in my head and he's not worrying about it, Alex would be like, oh, hey, I've done this thing. I'd be like, oh.
Yeah, I think we mentioned that in the because we did a commentary video for chapter 0, like a creator's sort of commentary, watching it back. But like so many of the effects, like all of the effects on that, we had no budget, so it was just like, let's find some free green screen effects on YouTube. Let's find some free sound effects. You know, there's budget can be a limitation, but it's also, you shouldn't let it limit you when there are like alternatives, if you have the time and dedication to just look. And
there's a will, that is a way.
always.
That's what we did.
And like I can talk about a couple of different examples of that, where like, I mean, like this YouTube channel is one of them.
Yeah.
Where
'Cause
we were sort of feeling very precious
ages.
about it, right?
Yeah.
And we thought we had to backlog a load of content and, you know, do like the proper things and stuff. And in the end, I was just like, fuck it. Fuck it. I want to make this thing and I want to put it out. So we did.
Just fuck it.
And in like, so me, most of us met at university. We all met at university.
Yeah, we're at university.
But Alex and Amy are illustrators by trade.
Yeah, like I think I only met you guys because of Amy,
Yeah.
so she was just like, come meet my friends in the props department.
Yes.
I was like, all right.
I am technically a prop maker, if you can call it that. But there's also conversation in that industry around like, oh well, there's like the professional way to do it, and then there's the amateur way to do it, right? So like your Iron Man armor, for example, like if you're doing it professionally, you spend a shit ton of money, you make a nice mold, and you just pour loads of waste resin in, and you do all this kind of stuff. But like if you're at home, you just get a Pepakura template from the internet, and then you just laminate a load of paper.
Yeah.
Right. And it takes a really long time, and it's a lot of hard work, but it's cheap.
It's cheap and it does it.
And it does the job.
Yeah.
You know, like professional makers who are like looking at people on YouTube doing this and being like, why would they do this? It takes such a long time. Like, yeah, because the alternative is like starts at $3,000. That's why. So you just got to find, you know, the inroads. Like, you're looking at your big picture, looking at your little details, like the jobs you have to do. Just Google it.
Yeah.
Just
oh my God. Google is how I learned how to do everything that I do in my job now. like
Yeah.
for one thing, my mom will ask me like, oh, how do you know how to do all of this tech support stuff whenever my laptop breaks? I'm like, I don't, but Google knows, and I know how to use Google. And it's like, how did you learn how to use your editing software, your drawing software?
Honestly,
Google.
even like just being a grown up, I don't know how people lived before the
absolutely.
internet. Like when the washing machine is making weird noises, like the plumber is like £200 a visit. Like, yeah, how did you live before Google? Before you could just Google, is this a correct noise?
Is this a correct noise?
I think about this thing often, like going back to the university thing. Like, yeah, I learned some bits at university, mostly from Alan because he was amazing.
Oh, Alan was the best teacher.
Was
Shout out to Alan Baker for being a really cool artist and a
God,
really cool
the
teacher.
coolest person who ever existed.
The best way to describe Alan was like a wizard Peter Capaldi
Oh my God, yeah.
in spangly
Is this
trousers.
the dude with the trousers?
Yeah, he's the
Yeah,
dude with the trousers. He
okay.
always had
Coolest
like
dude
colourful
ever.
jeans with patterns on them and a scarf.
Coolest dude, and he was really lovely as well, very supportive. Learned a lot from him, but also like I learned more when we came out of university afterwards because I spent a lot of time with you, Alex, and I was like, Alex, teach me all the ways. And I just, you know, got into looking at more artists, and there was no more restrictions because university, because me and you are very much like, we're very character design driven
Yeah.
in that sort of aspect.
You know, I was thinking about university the other day, and I think the thing I made the most of in university and the thing that I learned the most from was mistakes. Like I look back at all the projects we did in university and it's like, God, Jesus, I would never do them that way now.
Never.
But in the moment I was like, this is the best way to do it and I'm right. And it's like, no, you're
Yeah.
wrong. And that's also something that applies when you dive in and do stuff. Like linking it back to the question, like you learn the best by just doing the thing, making the mistake and then improving on it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of you tend to get hooked up on it has to be neat and it has to be perfect. And the one thing that really has sort of moved, I feel like even just this year, just 2020,
Yeah.
that has taken Wizards a big step forward is all of us are kind of like,
Yeah. I think
just get it done. Yeah.
there's a lot to be said for being casual about the stuff
Yeah.
you create, like caring about it for sure,
Oh,
wanting
yeah.
it to look good, but
100%.
not every line and every sort of bit and piece needs to be exactly square, you know, and in
Yeah.
the right place.
They're like, I can't really speak for the art because I don't really do any of it. But so when I'm thinking about, you know, I'm thinking about, oh, it doesn't really matter if we don't post this like on YouTube right this moment or to the schedule or whatever. It just, you know, it gets out. People see it. People enjoy it. Yeah. I enjoyed making it, and that's kind of like the important part of it. You just gotta do it. Yeah. Just gotta get out there and do it. Good luck to you, Jacob, with your endeavours.
Hell yeah, dude.
Hook us up with the link when you're done.
Hell yeah.
David Keeling asks, might be a bit vague, but what were your favourite moments with the characters you're currently playing / DMing? Or a moment which made you go, yep, this pretty much sums up my character.
Oh man, I mean,
Love the
So
work,
many.
can't wait for the next episode. Thank you,
oh,
David.
thank you, David. I mean, obviously, don't want to tread into spoiler territory with any of the best moments because there are some I can think of that are but also big fucking spoiler.
I can give you one for Rook.
Oh,
which is recent. We finally got together when we played D&D again last month's January.
and
And
very, very fun.
I think this is the first time that Rook has ever used sending or message or whichever one it is, where so you got a 25 word maximum.
Yeah.
And I said, okay,
Oh,
well, tell me
my
the
God,
words. And he like shut down, like trying to think of the words. And I was like, okay, we'll come back to you then, shall we? And then we did like an entire other scene. And at the end of it, he had just finished writing the 25 words out. It's very Rook Lunera -2 charisma.
It was so funny as well because it was like a semi-serious message to a semi-serious NPC,
Yeah.
and he had 3 words left at the end, and we were all just like, "End it with I love you."
So he did.
And it was like, the dude was so confused. He was like, "You too? I guess." with very much of a tone of, "Are you okay, Rook?"
I feel like all of you tend to. I mean, it's like your first. Well, Hashaan isn't your first D&D character.
No.
Gimgar is, but like
Not your first
those of you
rodeo.
who are still playing your first D&D characters, you're basically playing yourselves, right?
Oh yeah.
To a certain extent. So
Um,
you always have these moments where you're very, very them, but also you have moments where you're not so much. And I feel like Matt stays much heavier in the I am very much Rook Lunera.
Oh my gosh, I think I can remember one instance of because what was part of the question? It was like what was a moment that was very in character, and it was like, yep, this is. I think there was one point where Paddy went to meet an NPC for the first time, and you introduced this NPC, Jenny, and it was like this description of a very, very pretty man, a very spicy boy, and I remember you being like, "So, what does Paddy do?" And I was just dumbstruck, and I was like, "Paddy is gay." and then I had to take a hot minute to just sort of be like, "What am I doing right now?" And that was definitely sort of like, this surmises the character pretty well.
See, when I play Gimgar is me, pretty much. She shouts a lot. She's got too much energy that she can cope with, and like she's just this insane ball of energy that wants to punch everything that moves. So playing her is easier for me. Playing Hashaan is very difficult because I see her as this very specific person, and then I play her and I'm like, this is not her, but here we are.
I think we've described Hashaan as similar to like Captain Holt and the lady whose name I can never remember from Okoye from Black Panther. I'm so bad with names. But that kind of like lawful good territory, but like comedically so.
I am lawful good, but you are pushing me to my limits. Yeah.
It's because I just want to be, because I have to think when it comes to Hashaan with consequences. I try to, sometimes I don't, and things have happened. And it's very tiring because I'm like, but if I'm Gimgar, I'm just like, fuck it. She does whatever she wants, and like it's easier for Gimgar because she is just a menace, and
that's a very good character description
like
of Gimgar.
she can do what she wants and she doesn't give a shit. She doesn't care about consequences, but Hashaan has to care about consequences, and oh my god, it is so tiring. By the end of the D&D session, I'm like, I need a nap.
I think with Gimgar, it's like by definition she's not a goblin, but in spirit,
yeah, she tries to be good. She wants to be good, but like we were talking the other day, she's still a kid. Like,
yeah, she doesn't have the capacity to make informed choices, right?
yeah, she's not an adult. Technically, she's not an adult for a dwarf. She's still a kid. She's still, this big ball of energy.
Yeah, she's an idiot.
Yeah. Exactly.
in the best way.
Malark. Anytime that anything isn't, when a series of events doesn't go Malark's way, that is the most Malark that he ever is. Like, he gets really quiet and really frustrated. Right?
It's very entertaining.
Yeah. I don't remember
so good, though.
what we were doing, but when he threw his dice like out of the room because
he kept rolling terribly, and he was like, "This cannot serve me anymore."
Yeah, he yeeted it out of the room.
I feel like that's an ongoing theme with a lot of us, is just throwing our dice.
And then
to the
he
winds.
immediately crawled after it, like, "Oh no, I can't throw it because the cat will eat it."
That was definitely a switching moment between like Malark rage and Phil being very conscious about the cat.
Phil is so good. Like when it comes to like, obviously he's an actor, so he knows how to do it. But like, God, he's so good. He's so good.
Gets very in the zone with it.
He's like, obviously he's played other characters that aren't. I can't say much because it's spoiler, but he's played other characters that aren't Malark. And oh my God, like. He'll like occasionally like slip into normal conversation, day-to-day life, and then he'll say this one thing, and then we all freak out, and then
it's
we're
like a callback to one of the villains, and we're like, no, stop.
We're like, no.
Yeah, for a little while before Malark joined the party, because I wasn't super sure if we had space for another player, Phil helped me out by being a couple of NPCs. And some very good villains.
Oh my
God. And that's
God.
the thing, because like he
Oh man, the
almost...
first time you ever met him, him and Erin were sat next to me around the table.
That was my first
my
context.
Henchmen was so good.
What they were like.
It was so much fun.
Dick of Justice. We were on the paint frame, this wobbly platform, because
There's 3 stories in the air.
yeah, and
for context, this is just like a space at our old uni. This is not just like a random.
No, it's not just like a floating.
we were like hiding,
like a Smash Bros platform.
Yeah.
we're like it was like in this dark corner of our university, and we're like really high up in the air on this weird wobbly platform. We're playing D&D, and then we have to make this really important roll. And then, both of our roles matched, didn't they? It was like mine and Phil's roles were exactly the same.
And you had the same stats or whatever.
Yeah.
So we flipped a coin.
We flipped a coin, and I flipped it, and it landed on Phil's crotch, and then it landed my way up, and I just screamed, "Dick of Justice!" and like stomping our feet, the platform's wobbling, and
The whole table just erupts in joy. At this coin that's landed on Phil's dick. But it's quite fun thinking back to the like NPCs that Phil and Erin used to play, because like it was majority villains. So when Phil introduced his player character Malark to us, we were just like, we can't trust you.
Suspicious.
Oh no, but then there was that time that
Press
Erin
X to
also
doubt.
played he played another NPC, and we were like, "You're bad." And he was like, "No." Yes.
Oh, yeah.
he was like, "Yeah, I'm just
He's got
happy."
this tiny little, like,
Yeah.
hiya, and you're like, kill him.
Stab him in the throat.
Trust no one, especially this man.
I'm your friend. No.
That's the danger of when
the old lady at the spa.
we had been through a bit of a time in
Oh
campaign.
God, we couldn't trust anyone. And every time this old woman I was like, "Insight."
And she was
She's
genuinely
just a
just trying
receptionist.
to run her spa. And we were just like, what murder are you here to bring upon us?
Every time she brought in food and wine, we were like, test it, make sure it's not poisonous. We were so ready.
I mean, to a certain extent, you still are. We did like an escort quest the other day that I made as dull as possible, right? Because it is like, it was appropriate. But basically, all they had to do was get some cargo and this girl to another place. And yeah, there were bandits along the way, but the entire time there weren't bandits. They were like, "So, little girl, what are you really?
Why are you drawing in that sketchbook?
Do you turn into a monster? Are you some kind of evil mage? Are you a vampire stuck as a child?" Like all of this suspicion.
Jenny, you've done this to us.
What a glorious time it is. Winterwolf on Twitter, so at Winterwolf2748, asks, "What's your favourite class and why?"
Oh boy. You see, personal bias. Favorite class is Rogue, because Arcane Trickster specifically, because I
spicy.
cannot function without magic. I think I played a non-magical character once. Never the fuck again. Jesus, how, Amy, do you do it?
I love it.
Like,
Well, Paladin's good in that sense because it's both, isn't it? It's tank
Yeah.
and magic. And
but you've played like a lot of characters who are just like purely tank.
Oh my
Like
God,
I would
love
like to
barbarians
rage.
so much. I just
Yeah.
because I'm not a tactical fighter. I just like to hit things as hard as I can because it's
Yeet
easier.
yourself headfirst into
It's
danger.
just easier for me to process, like, and it's just how I enjoy it, right? Hashaan's great because she's got really powerful magic and she can hit really fucking hard. So if her magic's taken away from her, she can still punch a bitch real hard.
And that is fucking sexy of her.
Gimgar for some reason is an Eldritch Knight. I don't know why I made that decision. I think it was because I saw Matt using magic and I was like, I want to do that. And then Liam was like, you can do this. And I was like, oh man, I'm doing that. And now I'm like, that makes no sense.
She's an Eldritch Knight barbarian, right? Like she's multi-classed in like the
and I'm
weirdest
like,
way.
Gimgar has never read a book in her life. How would she have learned wizard magic?
Mm-hmm.
And
well, here we are.
Here we are.
Past mistakes.
Yeah. I mean
that's one of the decisions. That's a decision that you made when literally none of us knew what we were doing.
Exactly.
Or how the game worked.
And that was before we had any real proper story, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I like to imagine that like Gimgar kind of picked that up by sheer force of will. Like, because she's seen so many magical weapons, she's hung out with so many magical people, she's like, fucking let me at that. And
I
then
feel
suddenly
like it's
she's
more
got
of a
like...
thing where like she, like Rook was like practicing magic or something. They're sitting around a campfire. I'm making this up on the spot, by the way. They're sitting around a campfire and Rook is like, I don't know, practicing some magic. He keeps saying words and then Gimgar just turns around and she says, you're a thing. And then all of a sudden she's casting this spell and she's like, whoa! And then, I don't know, she just did it through mocking Rook.
Either through force of will or through like just being a bastard.
Lol, you look dumb.
Yeah.
Or give me that, I want that now.
Yeah. I want magic hands.
I have a sorcerer and a cleric.
And a barbarian.
Yeah. I think the sorcerer has put me off magic. Like big magic anyway. Because the cleric, you know, you can still hit things, you still have you still have melee or whatever. I also have that's not in this story, that I used once when we did one session of Storm Kings, a rogue who I sort of spec'd out to be a con man before I can't remember which book it is, but before the book that introduced that as a subclass for rogues anyway. And I think that's kind of that's how I play RPGs, like video game RPGs, because I want to have all of the I want to.
To be fair, I remember
I do not want to leave any lootables in the room.
Exactly.
Okay, so I have to be able to unlock all of the chests. Okay, I have to be able to pick all the pockets. Also, I want all of the good, like, speaking options, right? I don't want to be locked out of speaking options by my low charisma.
I mean, I remember like every time that we've played like a one shot and you've been a player character rather than the DM, Jenny, you have pickpocketed me every time. You've stolen all my shit, all of everybody else's shit, and all of your own shit.
Do you remember when Beth did that amazing one shot where we drew our class and race out of a hat?
Oh, that was great.
And you got a Tabaxi,
Rogue,
Tabaxi Rogue.
I think that was the one where you stole everybody's shit.
And you were like an emo, and you were like called Night Sky or something. Yeah. And I was called Willy Wildfire. I was a Goliath sorcerer who was a pyromaniac.
That was a lot of fun.
It was good.
You were Virgil,
yes. Who he was like an orc barbarian, but the personality trait I drew out of the hat was that he had crippling social anxiety.
Yeah, he was like super shy.
Super shy. So it's just this like terrible, brilliant juxtaposition of just the weirdest
unending
traits.
Rage, and also
his rage comes from sheer embarrassment.
Self-rage.
It's like, stop looking at me.
And I really, sorry, I'm just going to go back and talk about myself again.
Yeah.
I really like my cleric because, like, I'm obsessed with the concept of Arathis and the idea that you can worship civilization. Like, I think about it a lot.
Yeah,
like
man.
when I'm supposed to be thinking about plot devices or whatever.
I feel when you're like hardcore into architecture.
So yeah, clerics, man.
I think like you said something a second ago about like sorcerers being like magic only, you can't really hit stuff. I think that's one of the reasons I really like arcane tricksters, because you have like sneak attack and magic and like all of these other things you can do, and it's so tasty. But in fairness, I was thinking on the point of like, oh, if you're a wizard or a sorcerer, you can't really hit stuff. Oh no! In our last session, Rook whipped out a stick and he bonked someone on the head for maybe 1 damage. So he's not like it's not like he can't hit anything.
True, and you know, sort of in the Wizards of the Coast canon that like farmers, like, you know, like your basic peasant NPC, they only have 2 hit points. So he beat that person to shit, but he would have half murdered a man if it had been like a random peasant. But alas.
But alas, it was no peasant.
Thanks once again to our patrons for their generous dollars enabling this madness. We are recorded by Oliver Moore.
That's me. I'm still here.
Soundman McGee.
Soundman McGee.
And I have been Jenny, your DM, the one with all the voice.
I'm Alex.
I am not Jenny.
And that's the show. Thanks very much for listening.
Bye!